What if the one loss that nearly broke Amy Fleming suddenly walked back into her life? Heartland Season 20 to study. Episode 1 doesn't shock us with noise or drama. It shocks us with silence, memory, and a return that reopens wounds everyone thought had finally healed. This isn't just another season premiere, it's the emotional reckoning Heartland fans have been waiting for, and it hits harder than anyone expected. Heartland Season 20. Episode 1 begins in a way that immediately tells us something is different. The ranch looks the same. The land stretches wide. The horses move calmly through familiar spaces. But there's a weight in the air that wasn't there before. It feels like the past is standing just behind the present, waiting to be acknowledged. Heartland doesn't rush. It lets the silence speak first, and that silence carries years of love, loss, and unfinished stories. Amy Fleming moves through her day with a strength that has been earned, not given. This is not the Amy who is barely surviving anymore. This is a woman who has learned how to live with pain without letting it destroy her. She works, she cares for the horses, she shows up for her family, and she smiles when she needs to. But beneath that strength is a quiet loneliness that never fully left. You can feel it in her pauses, in the way she sometimes stares just a second too long into the distance, as if listening for something she knows she won't hear. Amy didn't just lose Tai, she lost a future she believed in. And while time helped her build a life again, it never erased what he meant to her. This episode understands that truth deeply. It doesn't tell us Amy is still hurting. It shows us. Her movements are steady, but her heart is guarded. She has learned how to survive without reopening old wounds. Or at least she thinks she has. Jack Bartlett is watching everything, as he always does. His connection to the land feels more reflective now, more aware. Jack has lived long enough to know that life rarely gives clean endings. He understands that love doesn't disappear just because someone is gone. As he looks out over Heartland, there's a sense that he feels something coming before it arrives. Not fear, not excitement, just recognition. As if life is circling back on itself. Lindy brings a different kind of energy into the episode. Her innocence contrasts sharply with the emotional weight carried by the adults around her. She asks questions that seem simple, but land deeply. Children sense emotional shifts before they can explain them, and Lindy feels that something is changing. Her curiosity isn't loud, but it's meaningful. It reminds us that the next generation carries the echoes of the past, even when they didn't live it themselves. What makes this opening so powerful is its restraint. Heartland doesn't announce Tai's return. It prepares us for it emotionally. The pacing is slow, deliberate, and intentional. Every familiar location feels charged with memory. Every routine feels like it's brushing against something unresolved. These moments aren't filler. They are emotional groundwork. The episode uses memory like a quiet guide. Small callbacks appear naturally. Places Tai once stood, moments he once shared with Amy, rhythms of life that still carry his imprint. These aren't forced reminders. They feel organic, like thoughts that surface when you least expect them. Heartland understands that grief doesn't disappear. It settles into the background of everyday life, waiting for the right moment to rise again. And that's where the suspense truly lives in this episode. Not in big twists, but in anticipation. The audience feels what the characters feel: uncertainty, tension, and a sense that something life-changing is approaching. The show allows that feeling to grow slowly, trusting the audience to sit with the discomfort. It's a bold choice, and it pays off emotionally. By the end of this section, nothing explosive has happened yet, but everything feels ready to break open. The ranch feels heavier, the characters feel more exposed, and the audience understands one crucial truth. Heartland Season 20. Episode 1 isn't about shocking us with events. It's about preparing us for an emotional impact that will hit when we are least guarded. This is the calm before the emotional storm, and Heartland knows exactly how to make us feel it. Tai Bordon's return does not arrive with celebration, music, or dramatic confrontation, and that is exactly why it hits so hard. Heartland understands that some moments are too heavy for noise. When Tai appears, it feels almost unreal, like a memory stepping into the present. There is no warning, no build-up in dialogue. He is simply there. And in that quiet arrival, years of grief, love, and unanswered questions come rushing back. Amy's reaction is immediate and deeply human. There is no perfect response, no dramatic speech. Instead, there is shock written across her face. Disbelief. Her body freezes before her heart even has time to catch up. This is the moment she never prepared for, because preparing would have meant admitting she still cared. Amy has spent years learning how to function without Tai, how to carry love and loss at the same time. She built strength out of survival, but survival is not the same as healing, and this moment exposes that truth completely. When Amy looks at Tai, everything she carefully packed away breaks open. The love she never stopped feeling, the pain she never fully faced, the questions she never got answers to. Her strength falters, not because she is weak, but because love has always been her greatest vulnerability. She doesn't know whether to cry, speak, or walk away. That hesitation feels painfully real. Real grief doesn't disappear when someone returns. It collides with hope, fear, and memory all at once. Tai himself doesn't rush toward her. He doesn't try to control the moment. His presence is quiet, almost cautious, as if he understands the weight of what he has disrupted. There is humility in the way he stands, in the way he looks at Amy. He knows that showing up doesn't undo the damage of being gone. And Heartland allows that complexity to exist without simplifying it. Lindy's reaction changes the emotional direction of the moment in a powerful way. Unlike Amy, Lindy doesn't carry years of shared memories or heartbreak. Her understanding of Tai comes from stories, photographs, and feelings she could never fully explain. And yet, when she sees him, there is recognition, something instinctive, something pure. Children sense truth before they understand it, and Lindy feels the connection immediately. There is curiosity in her eyes, warmth in her presence, and a comfort that feels natural rather than forced. This moment reframes Tai's return. It is no longer just about revisiting the past. It becomes about the future that was interrupted. Lindy represents possibility in its most innocent form. Through her reaction, Heartland reminds us that love doesn't vanish with time. It adapts. It finds new ways to exist, even through absence. Jack Bartlett's response adds another emotional layer. Jack doesn't rush forward or overwhelm the moment with words. He pauses. He looks at Tai with eyes that carry decades of memory and wisdom. In that look, we see the young man Tai once was, the man he became, and the future Jack once believed he would help protect. Jack understands that life rarely offers perfect explanations. What it offers instead are moments where compassion matters more than resentment. When Jack finally speaks, his words are calm and measured. He doesn't ask where Tai has been or why he's back now. He focuses on the fact that Tai is here. That alone is enough. In that quiet acceptance, Heartland delivers one of its strongest messages. Forgiveness doesn't erase pain, but it allows healing to begin. The tension in this section doesn't come from anger or confrontation. It comes from restraint. Every character is holding something back. Every emotion feels just beneath the surface. The audience feels the same unease the family feels. Is this a blessing or a risk? Is hope safe or is it dangerous? By the end of this section, one thing is clear. Tai's return hasn't fixed anything. It has opened everything. And Heartland wants us to sit with that discomfort, because real healing never starts cleanly. It starts messy, uncertain, and full of emotion. And that's exactly where this story now stands. As the reality of Tai's return settles in, the emotional weight begins to spread through the entire family. This is where Heartland truly shines, because it doesn't treat Tai's return as a single reaction moment. It treats it as a ripple effect. Everyone feels it differently, and every response is shaped by love, fear, and past pain. Lou Fleming's reaction is one of the most realistic and emotionally grounded in the episode. Lou doesn't feel immediate joy. Instead, she feels fear. Fear that Amy will be hurt again. Fear that the fragile balance they worked so hard to build will collapse. After Tai was gone, Lou became the protector. She helped hold Amy together when everything felt broken. So for Lou, Tai's return isn't romantic or hopeful at first. It's dangerous. Lou wants to believe in good outcomes, but experience has taught her to be cautious. She watches Tai closely, not with anger, but with guarded concern. Her silence speaks louder than words. She notices how he carries himself, how he avoids demanding space, how he seems aware of the damage his absence caused. Lou is measuring sincerity, not perfection. She isn't asking if Tai deserves forgiveness. She's asking whether Amy can survive the emotional cost of letting him back in. This internal conflict makes Lou deeply human. She is torn between wanting to protect her sister and wanting to respect Amy's ability to choose her own path. Her hesitation doesn't come from resentment. It comes from love. And that love makes every decision heavier. Tim Fleming reacts in a way that feels familiar to longtime fans. He cracks jokes. He deflects. He pretends the moment doesn't affect him as deeply as it does. Humor is Tim's armor, and he wears it instinctively. But beneath that tough exterior is a man who understands regret better than most. Tim knows what it feels like to lose time, to make mistakes, and to be given a second chance when you least expect it. Tai's return hits Tim harder than he lets on. It reminds him of how close he came to losing everything himself. There are brief moments where the humor fades, moments where his voice softens and his eyes reveal relief, gratitude, and respect. Those small cracks in his armor add emotional texture to the episode. They remind us that strength doesn't always look quiet, and vulnerability doesn't always look soft. Georgie's response brings a sense of emotional maturity to the situation. She doesn't rush into opinion or drama. She understands that this moment isn't about her. It's about Amy, Lindy, and the family as a whole. Georgie watches carefully, aware of the emotional weight in the room. There is no judgment in her expression, only understanding. Georgie represents growth. She has faced loss, learned resilience, and built her own strength over time. She understands that people are complicated and that healing doesn't follow straight lines. Her calm presence balances the tension, reminding the audience that emotional strength can look like patience and empathy. Throughout this section, the fear of hope becomes a central theme. Everyone feels it. Hope is tempting, but it's also risky. Loving again means risking pain again. Trusting again means reopening wounds that barely healed. Heartland doesn't rush anyone past that fear, it lets it exist fully. By the end of this section, the family hasn't reached agreement or comfort, but something has shifted. Resistance begins to soften, not because everything feels safe, but because honesty starts to show through. Tai isn't demanding forgiveness. Amy isn't offering it. And that honesty creates space for something fragile and powerful to grow. This is the emotional crossroads of the episode, the point where the story stops being about a return and starts being about choice. And Heartland makes us feel how heavy those choices truly are. The private conversation between Amy and Tai is the emotional core of Heartland Season 20, Episode 1. Everything in the episode leads to this moment, and the show handles it with honesty, restraint, and deep respect. There is no rush to fix anything. No dramatic speeches meant to impress. Just two people facing the truth they both avoided for years. There is silence before words, and that silence carries weight. Amy speaks first, not with anger, but with pain that has been held in for far too long. She talks about the years she spent surviving without Tai, about learning how to wake up every day and keep going when the life she imagined disappeared. She speaks about loneliness, not as weakness, but as something she learned to live with. Her words aren't polished. They are raw, imperfect, and deeply honest. Tai listens. He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't defend himself. He doesn't try to explain everything away. That choice matters. It shows growth. It shows accountability. When he does speak, he acknowledges the damage his absence caused. Not vaguely, not emotionally distant. He names it. And in doing so, he takes responsibility without asking for forgiveness in return. This conversation isn't about resolving the past. It's about recognizing it. Amy doesn't promise forgiveness. Tai doesn't promise forever. What they share instead is understanding. They allow love, anger, grief, and hope to exist in the same space. That emotional honesty is what makes the moment so powerful. There are pauses where words fail, tears that come without warning, looks that say more than dialogue ever could. Heartland trusts these moments. It understands that real emotional healing doesn't come from perfect speeches. It comes from being seen and heard fully. Amy's strength in this moment is different from before. It's not survival strength, it's emotional courage. She allows herself to feel everything she locked away for years, and that vulnerability doesn't weaken her. It grounds her. Tai sees her fully again, not as someone frozen in memory, but as the woman she has become. By the end of their conversation, nothing is fixed, but something is open. They see each other clearly for the first time in years. And that clarity creates possibility, even if the path forward remains uncertain. This section reminds us why Heartland resonates so deeply. It doesn't promise easy healing. It shows us the courage it takes to face pain honestly, and that honesty becomes the foundation for whatever comes next. The family dinner scene closes Heartland Season 20, Episode 1, in a way that feels deeply earned. There is no announcement, no dramatic declaration, no attempt to force resolution. Instead, there is something far more powerful: togetherness. The family sits around the table, sharing space, sharing silence, and slowly sharing warmth again. The room feels different, fuller, softer. Not because the past has been erased, but because love has found its way back into the room. Tai doesn't try to reclaim anything. He doesn't dominate conversation or seek validation. He allows himself to exist within the family naturally, with humility and respect. That restraint matters. It shows that he understands trust must be rebuilt, not demanded. Lindy's presence brings light into every interaction. Her comfort around Tai feels natural, not questioned. She bridges the gap between what was lost and what might still be possible. Through her, the future feels less frightening. Jack's calm presence grounds the room. His quiet acceptance sets the emotional tone, reminding everyone that healing doesn't need permission. It needs patience. Lou watches carefully, but she allows herself to relax. She doesn't drop her guard completely, but she stops fighting the moment. That shift is subtle and powerful. Tim fills the silence with humor, not to avoid emotion, but to soften it. His jokes don't erase the weight in the room, they make it easier to breathe. Georgie observes with quiet understanding. She doesn't push, doesn't pull. She simply supports by being present. And Amy feels something she hasn't felt in a long time. Not certainty, not answers, but peace, a calm that comes from honesty, not resolution. This dinner doesn't mean everything is okay. It means something is possible. And that is enough. Heartland ends the episode the way it began. Quietly, emotionally, and with deep respect for its characters and audience. Tai's return isn't framed as a miracle. It's framed as a chance. A chance for healing, for understanding, and for second chances that don't erase the past, but learn how to live with it. Season 20 begins by reminding us why Heartland has stayed with us for so many years. It's not about perfect endings. It's about family, resilience, and the belief that even after unimaginable loss, home can still find its way back to you. And with that, Heartland doesn't ask us to believe in certainty. It asks us to believe in hope.